This is LBC. Message Tom Swarbrick on WhatsApp now on 0345 60 60 973.
5:51, Lee in Dartford. I'll get to your call in just a few moments, but stand by.
We'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there.
We're watching the White House as President Trump is due to speak to reporters in the next 30 minutes or so ahead of the summit in Anchorage, Alaska, with Vladimir Putin. Simon Marks is LBC's Washington correspondent. Do we have any clue, Simon, any more idea what this is actually going to be about and what the conclusions of it may be?
Well, he just can't stop talking, Tom. I mean, every other former president of the United States preparing for a superpower summit with a Russian or in the past Soviet leader would today be ensconced in the White House behind closed doors, poring over the briefing books, mapping out strategy with his national security officials. But that, of course, is not the Donald Trump way. And so not only are we about to get these extemporized remarks at the White House, presumably looking forward to the summit tomorrow, but he's also been on the radio here this morning. He made an appearance on Fox News radio and sounded pretty bullish about tomorrow.
As Putin knows, I'm the toughest one that he's ever had to deal with. He's never had to deal with anybody like me.
And he insisted that Vladimir Putin is coming to Alaska, preparing to set foot on American soil for the first time in a decade, absolutely serious about a genuine negotiation.
He really, I believe now, he's convinced that he's going to make a deal. He's going to make a deal. I think he's going to, and we're going to find out. I'm going to know very quickly.
And, of course, the president has said previously that he will know within the first 2 minutes of meeting Vladimir Putin whether the Russian leader is serious. You know, White House officials have been saying throughout the week that this was just going to be a listening exercise for Donald Trump. He wanted to get into the room, get the measure of Vladimir Putin, look him in the eye and make the decision as to whether he really is, to coin a phrase first used by Margaret Thatcher, a man with whom he could do business. But now he's talking on the one hand about a possible breakthrough, but elsewhere in that interview, he insisted that he doesn't think that he can persuade Vladimir Putin to engage in a ceasefire. Although on the third hand, in that interview, he also said that the power of his potential lifting of sanctions and other economic incentives could certainly play a role in constraining the Russian president's behavior. But the more he talks, the more he gives the Russians an opportunity to pore over the transcripts of his remarks, even before Vladimir Putin boards a plane from Moscow and heads to Alaska. The more concerned critics of the Trump administration are people like Mike McFaul, the former US ambassador to Russia, who argues that Vladimir Putin is once again preparing to play Donald Trump like a violin.
President Trump is way too eager to get a deal. He doesn't care about the details. He just wants to be the guy that ended the war. That seems, listening to him talk, all he cares about. And that gives Putin a lot of advantages going into this meeting.
And there's no question that there should be concerns at number 10 and in European capitals, as well, of course, as in Ukraine, about what is going to happen over the next 30 hours or so, because, and we'll get more of a sense of this when President Trump talks at the White House, so far he has absolutely not said anything publicly about the 5-point plan that he supposedly agreed with Volodymyr Zelensky and European negotiators, European leaders yesterday, to try and force Vladimir Putin to accept talks with Volodymyr Zelensky as being the first step in any kind of broader negotiation. So we have to wait and see whether Donald Trump is vaguely serious about living up to the guarantees that European leaders say that he made to them and to Volodymyr Zelensky.
As the early morning mists rise above Anchorage, Alaska, we're about to find out, Simon, whether or not the fog clears around what any of this is going to reveal when Donald Trump speaks in a few moments' time. Thank you very much, Simon Marks, LBC's Washington correspondent.